a lot of fight towards the end of the third quarter and fourth quarter. They still lose this game to the Sacramento Kings, 123 to 115. This loss could have been avoided with better and more consistent defense throughout the whole entire game instead of just towards the end. We're going to talk about it, break it all down, have some fun right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it, man. The Chicago Bulls lose a tough one down the stretch to the Sacramento Kings, and despite the Bulls chipping off at that lead repeatedly, having multiple double-digit runs against the Sacramento Kings to start to end that game, they just could not take the lead back or overcome the Kings to win it. Every time the Bulls went on the run, the Kings ended up matching that run, or so to say. But the Bulls showed a lot of fight down the stretch of this game. The way the game ended isn't necessarily the toughest thing for the Bulls. It's the way that it began. The Bulls lost the first quarter 32 to 25, then lost the second quarter 39 to 27. They turned around and win the third quarter by 9 points and win the fourth quarter by 2 points, and they played really solidly after that point. The Sacramento Kings initially went on a nice run to start off that third quarter, and the Bulls literally battled back, playing some of their best defense and offensive consistently throughout that part of the game for the remainder of the game. They just, again, with the Bulls, it's either third quarters, it's slow starts, and it's if this Bulls team was able to play a full 48 minutes of intensity, they would be in a lot more games like this. Like I said, I love the way that they played down the stretch of the game. It just wasn't enough. De'Aaron Fox had 41 points. You got to give credit to this young man and how he played. Malik Monk with 22 off the bench. You also got Lyles with 16 off the bench, then 13 from Sabonis, 11 from Harrison Barnes, and 9 from Kevin Huerter in that starting lineup. But when you look at the Bulls, we had three 20-point scorers in this game. DeMar with 24, Vooch with 24 and 12. He also chipped in 3 assists, 1 steal. You had Coby White with 26 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists in that game. Alex Caruso only 3 of 7 for 7 points, but he played some really good defense. He chips in 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks over the course of this game. And Ayo Dosunmu with 18 points in this game, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, no blocks, unfortunately. So his stretch of getting, I think he got a block in at least the last 7 games. That gets broken, but he does have 2 steals on top of all of that. We didn't have a single double-digit score off the bench. Torrey Craig plays 14 minutes in his return for 5 points. When it comes down to it, man, the Bulls they didn't execute well enough throughout the whole game, and that is why playing a complete game is important. And that's just what it comes down to. Coby had some really nice buckets, some big moments in that second half of the game. You got to give it up for Coby White and how he played in the second half. Coby White went 7 of 12 for 19 points in the second half of the game. And then when you look at the fourth quarter of the game specifically, Coby White in the fourth quarter scored 12 points in the fourth quarter. He was the only player with double-digit points in that quarter. He had the most shot attempts as well. Of course, DeMar DeRozan was second to him with 6 points. But it just wasn't enough, man. I really were hoping that the Bulls were going to be able to get back in this game. Well, they got back in the game, but to win this game, because that would have been such a good story to tell. But the Bulls can still look at this, especially how they played in that second half. And if they can figure out how to keep that up for a full game, they're going to win more games. When you look at the rebounding battle, the Bulls actually won this after losing it in the first half. We won the rebounding battle 47-40. When you look at the turnover battle, it's really something that killed the Bulls in this game. We had 16 turnovers. Now, the Sacramento Kings also had 16 turnovers. They scored more points off turnovers, though, with 19 or 17. So it is what it is there. Second chance points, the Bulls won that 14-5. Points in the paint, the Bulls won that 52-50. And then fast break points, we lost that 24-15. So, those are kind of the nitty-gritty stats that I like to go over in these games, but it's unfortunate. Like, it's just what it comes down to. The way that the Bulls lost this game down the stretch, man, it's just, like I said, I commend for the heart that they play with to fight back in this game. There's been a lot of times where the Bulls would have not even got back after the Kings came out in the third quarter with that onslaught. I think they initially scored like the first 7 points or something like that in the third quarter. a lot of times the Bulls would have just been out of the game at that point. They fight back, they show some heart, show some grit defensively. A couple of things didn't break their way, but it is what it is when it comes down to it. The Kings are a better team than the Chicago Bulls. So I don't think anybody had any misgivings or misconceptions on who were the better team tonight. The Kings are the better team. That's not even up for debate. They are the better team than Chicago Bulls. They're one of the best offenses in the league. They had a generational offense last season with efficiency. So you got to give it up to the Kings and just the way that they perform, the way that they execute, how they go about their business. Like I said, yeah, I'm a Bulls fan, but I'm also a basketball fan, and I'm going to be able to acknowledge when the team just plays better. And the Kings were just better than the Chicago Bulls tonight throughout the entirety of the game. So, but let's go ahead and get into your guys' comments, see how you guys are feeling about it. Comment says DeMar was clearly fouled on that last drive. I agree with you on that one. Can't believe we lost this game, Haize. I can, because the way that we started off. I definitely can understand that. Damn, shout out to Charles. Watt Slice says, man, Jay Lee, you always get that wrong. Every time, like the last play when I put it in the Discord, Haize, it was wrong. Like it was the wrong call. That DeMar was fouled. It just is. DeMar was fouled on that one. So when you have that many damn turnovers and let them in the offensive rebound slip through your fingers, and on top of that, you're not getting to the damn thing off the bench, that's a loss. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of reasons why the Bulls lost this game. They deserve to lose this game. So Vooch has 2 clutch possessions and then 3 it away by taking a contested 3 while ago. While Io was open, I don't think he saw Io on that play. Now, that's not to say that it excuses him missing Io on that. But, I think they missed Io a couple times. There was another time where DeMar went to the rim. Now, I think DeMar converted it. No, DeMar got to the free throw line. But Io was right there open in the corner as well. I think, unfortunately, our guys get tunnel vision. If you want to be an efficient offense, well, an elite offense, you don't want to get tunnel vision. You want to keep that open. Well, it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. Josh in the building says Caruso made some bad decisions at the end of the game, not going to lie. Yes, but he also made a lot of decisions that kept the Bulls being able to go on the run. So not everybody's going to make perfect decisions. Everybody's liable to make to have some shortcomings at times. And Caruso made a lot of big plays for the Bulls, but he missed some as well. Quentin says, Quentin the Gigolo, that is hilarious. I swear the Bulls only know how to play after it going down 30 and give Coby the damn ball. Yeah, I agree. We're going to definitely talk about it tomorrow on the members only video. Definitely. Walter in the building says, why isn't Coby bringing up the ball at the end of the game for the 3 straight possessions? And nonetheless, Billy's an idiot. Well, here's the thing. You guys know I am all on the hate Billy Donovan bandwagon. But I think there's something to be said about allowing Coby to come off, play off ball and potentially come off screens to get himself wide open for a 3. I think that may have been some of the mindset behind it. But then the Kings and De'Aaron Fox is just such a dog defensively, kind of disrupted that. But I think that may have been the mindset behind it, because if you look at the way that Coby and Vooch were positioned on some of those plays where DeMar was bringing the ball up, I think it was meant for Coby or Alex Caruso to be able to come off a screen, hopefully for a wide open 3. Now, again, the Kings play really good defense and it disrupted what the Bulls were trying to do. But I think that was the mindset behind it. Now, I'm not saying on every one of those possessions, but on a couple of those, I do think that it was. Either way, it didn't execute, so you can still critique coaching on that. But I just wanted to add that different perspective there. Sanford, Maryland says, I think a slept-on aspect of Vooch's flaws is when he's posting up. He always spins, then tries to scoop the ball in. I feel like I've seen him do it so many times that it has hit maybe 1 out of 10 times. That's just his game. That's just his game. Big Diesel says, Haize, I have to disagree with you. Something you said in the comments, Acme is worse than Garpax. No, because the fact of the matter is this. Acme built a team that was working with much less assets. Garpax had a star in Jimmy Butler and literally looked and said, I don't know how to build around him. Let's trade him away for pieces that ended up not working. It's not. Now you can say, I feel like Garpax drafted better than Acme. Cool. You can say we can have that discussion, but there's something to be said about drafting to build a team. They just drafted and hoped players were going to stick and then couldn't get a coach to develop them. So what did they really get out of it? When you look at it, everyone that they drafted, Bobby Portis, good, didn't get shit out of. Jimmy Butler, a star. He was young, weren't able to build a team around him. Wendell is definitely not good. You can't make that department. So when we talk about this thing of Garpax being better, now John Paxson, when he was just the GM before he moved on to basketball, absolutely. Look at what he built with Kurt Heinrich, that team, getting Derrick Rose, hitting on Luau Deng, hitting on Ben Gordon, hitting on Noach. Yes, but when Garpax as a unit, just their stretch, if it wasn't for them having an MVP caliber player in Derrick Rose, they couldn't build a team to save their life. They couldn't. They had an MVP caliber player. They had Joakim Noah. They had a solid foundation in base, and they were able to build something because of the level and caliber of their best player to be able to be Eastern Conference finalists, but they couldn't do anything. They couldn't. That team needed was a shooting guard. Couldn't find a shooting guard to save their lives for Derrick Rose. They move on from Derrick. They have the 3 alpha seasons with Jimmy. They say, we don't know how to build around Jimmy, and they pass it. The reason why I say Acme is better is that if you give Acme, they get a Jimmy Butler level player, I trust that they're going to build a team that could be more sustainable and win for longer than what Garpax did with that same talent. That's the difference that makes it. We get so caught up in the minutia of certain things that I think we don't look at it in totality. So it's not just drafting. That's one thing. That's one aspect, and that is an aspect that Garpax did better than Acme. But in building an actual team, I would think that Acme has a better. Now, they've rebounded terribly since Lonzo went down. They don't get any bell for that. But if they ever hit, I would say this. If Acme ever hits on a player as good as what Jimmy Butler was, I think that they would build a much better team around that with whatever pieces they have than with what Garpax were able to do. Both front offices have their flaws. Both front offices have failed the city. This isn't a conversation to say one of them has served the city better. That's not the case at all. But I just think when you look at the totality of it, it is what it is there. Sacktown 100 says, hats off to Bulls. Haven't seen the team fight that hard all season. The third quarter defense was incredible, an absolute masterclass. Though tough down the stretch, you need to find White, Io, Vooch, not DeMar. Agree with you on that one, Sacktown. See how when you come in here not trying to troll, we can actually have a basketball discussion. Your team's good. And I really hope that your team does have that success in the playoffs this year. And I don't mean that as like a joke. Like I really do. I love a lot of your roster. De'Aaron Fox is an absolute dog. Sabonis is one of the best centers in the league at this point. He's turned himself into that. Really like that. So Wicked Lifestyle Business says, we actually done good. This is what I wanted to see from our Bulls. They didn't give us, we fought, man, this Bulls team is playing like one of the best teams in the East, despite how the record looked. Well, the thing is, you can't say that if you keep losing tough games, right? Like it's good to show spark, but if we're going to play like one of the best teams in the East per what you want to see from this team, they got to be able to do it consistently. You can, if you're just one of the best teams in the league in spurts, but like you still lose games, you're not really creating much separation. So they need to definitely play better, more consistently. Too many mistakes defensively and offensively in crunch time. Too much DeMar, nothing down the stretch. Appreciate the effort to fight back, though. Agree with you, Patrick. Agree with you on that one. Let's see. Incredible comeback, a couple very unusual uncontested turnovers, and you can see Caruso fouls were very uncharacteristic, fouling at the very last second 2 times. Bulls had this game, man. I mean, it's something to be said about how the momentum would change if those fouls didn't happen, but they did, and it's unfortunate. But like you said, Caruso's usually really good at playing that tight defense without fouling, and it just didn't happen. But you also got to give credit to De'Aaron Fox, right? I don't want to make it seem like it just happened because of Caruso's mistakes. De'Aaron Fox is also a very sly player. Like he is a smart, intelligent basketball player on both sides of the ball. He's a dog. Joe Hahn says, who cares? LaVine is injured. The front office is setting for mediocre, and there's ownership since 98. I'm getting sick and tired of this team. They don't care about winning. I hope that they trade LaVine. Well, you're not going to trade LaVine with the current injuries around him. That's for damn sure. Let's see what else we got. We got Deanna in the building. Says, did anyone else notice how often BD consults with his assistant coaches? That's not abnormal, though, Deanna. Like, if you watch the other teams in the league, you will see that a lot of teams, that's the point of having your assistants. Like, that is the part of it. Assistants have specific things that they're looking for during the game. They advise the head coach on that. That's not abnormal. And again, you know, I'm not a Billy Donovan supporter, but I am somebody who does like to talk about things in fairness, and Billy Donovan is not the only head coach to do it. Every head coach does that. We have to stop taking threes and get these damn 2 points. I hate this era of basketball. Everything has to be 3 points. We missed like 4 to 5 wide open threes in the fourth when we could have gotten close with two. Yeah, but then at that point, the team's packing it in. So, I mean, the defense is able to pack it in, and it makes you more tougher to get that two up close. I'm tired of Billy Donovan not adjusting to the situation. Coby White was cooking in the fourth quarter, and Billy didn't trust him in the last 3 minutes. I feel you. I feel you. Hate to tell you guys, but with a different coach, your squad would be much better. Billy D is not a good coach by any means in the NBA. Great college coach, doesn't translate to NBA at all. You can't say that when he's had top five. I think the lowest he's ever been in defense is like 11th. He can coach. He's a good coach, but a good coach still needs the right team. Just because he's a good coach doesn't mean he's good for every team in the league. And with the current makeup of the Chicago Bulls and our limitations from three-point range, it kind of highlights that. Then on top of that, he has the over reliance on DeMar DeRozan at times, the times that we're going to need DeMar DeRozan. So it's that Billy Donovan is a good coach. He is a good coach. He's not good for every situation though, and he's not great at adjusting by any stretch of the imagination. So King Kofu in the building says, "What up, Haize? Been a minute. Life's been in the way. That said, I would fine everybody for inbounding to anybody but Coby." That's hilarious. But again, one of the things is you do want Coby to be able to come off the ball because he is your most dangerous 3-point shooter. Again, I agree with what you said. My basis, I agree with you. But again, to offer the other perspective on that is that if you just do inbound to Coby White and he's handling the ball, because DeMar DeRozan isn't a threat to take a three-pointer really at all, it makes the defense able to kind of pack it in a little bit more. But, at the end of the day, the decision didn't work, so it is what it is there, right? Big Diesel says, "Haize, at this point, the Bulls should just trade Zach LaVine for a salary dump. Just get him off the books. Don't worry about getting assets in return." No, that's literally franchise suicide. You don't just dump off Zach LaVine, not with that many years left on his deal, not with his youth. You don't do that. That's not the point that we're at with this right now. Gio says, "Love Coby and Io's game." Haize, completely agree with that. And I like the chemistry that they have together. Io as a starter over this recent stretch. If I let me see if I can go find it real quick off real quick. I just want to see something if I'm right on something. So over the last 10 games, the last 10, what happened? What just happened to my numbers? I swear sometimes the internet just doesn't work just to spite me because it knows I'm on a live stream. This is not good. So over the last 10 games, I was averaging 12.3 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks. Io is balling. Io is balling right now. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wrong on that. See, this is why I waited for it to update. Over the last 10 games, Io DeSumo's averaging 14.6 points per game, 2.8 assists, 2.8 rebounds, again, 1.7 blocks, 1.5 steals. Io's balling right now. He's balling. So you gotta give him credit there. White reminds me a lot of Fox, not quite as quick, but a better shooter. He needs to get the keys. DeMar needs to be put in the back seat. He kills your team with so many ways in pain. It's painful to see. In this game, yes, so he helps us a lot. But look at Garpax. Yeah, but that playoff record is because they had an MVP and Joe Kim. They had a better overall team. So, and again, it's still how you build. And I just said that they were able to build a better team because how John Paxson drafted before Gar Forman came in, and then they built that off of it while they were together. So, yeah, they had better overall talent. So, again, if you give, for example, if you gave Acme Derrick Rose, I guarantee you we have at least one title or at least get to a finals. I guarantee you. They just could not build a team correctly. They couldn't. Again, that's not to say that either team deserves like the utmost, like either front office deserves the utmost. They all have their own areas in which they suck. Let's see what else we got. We were getting destroyed by points in the paint, and by the end of we were neck to neck in the paint. I'm content with that. That is definitely something to say. I think because in the first half, if I'm not mistaken, we were getting killed by like 16 by points in the paint. Let's take a look. So in the first half of the game, it was 34 to 14, 34 to 20 points in the paint. and we ended up winning points in the paint. If I remember correctly, we ended up winning points in the paint by 2. Really big adjustment there for sure. We were attacking the rim a lot more, but that's part of the defense that we were getting to then get out in transition and attack the rim that way. That definitely helps a lot. Reginald, a lot of people in the chat sounding like Barkley saying trade Zach for nothing and hope not to suck for a decade. Why do people think this is playing? It's the same people who say, oh, the Bulls should have not signed Zach. They should have let Zach walk. That's literally one of the stupidest things that this front office could have done. Is playing him in the max ideal? No. Is letting him walk for nothing ideal? Fuck no. Like, so at the end of the day, you maintain the ability and flexibility to try to move him by re-signing him. You don't let a talent as flawed as Zach LaVine is walk away for nothing when you have the opportunity to resign him. You just don't do that. You can give Garpax the most elite team and he wouldn't win at all. However, Acme would find a way to make it all work, and that's what separates the whole GM thing. Completely agree with you. That's what separates the GM argument for sure. King Kofu says, glad to see Torrey Craig back. That improves the D. Got to improve that D. Glad to see Carter out of the rotation. Need to see Taylor in late game situations for rebound and defense. I'd rather see Julian Phillips because Julian Phillips is a little bit more of a threat to stretch the floor. But Javon Carter, like, once everybody's back healthy, well, now that Zach LaVine's never going to be back healthy this season at least, we'll see how he is in the rotation once we get Patrick Williams back. But Javon Carter's fucking cheeks, man. Javon Carter sucks. Haize, I agree. Pax without guard was better because the Bulls were winning playoff games with Ben Gordon, Kirk Heinrich before Derrick Rose or Jimmy was on the team. Yeah, remember, hell, we swept the defending champions Miami Heat, which was a great series to watch. That was just such a fun time as Bulls fans when we swept the Heat right after they won a title with Shaq and Dwayne Wade. That was just such a great series to watch. Zach, Lonzo, Coby, Io, that would be a hell of a backcourt. Oh, facts. Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, Lonzo, when he comes back, it's not going to be Lonzo when he first comes back. He's just not going to. And Zach just got to fit in. He got to try to find a way to fit in for sure. Sometimes people need a reality check. Just because your job would be better if they let you go doesn't mean the Bulls and Zach is the same. That's goddamn Quentin shit. There's no way you should trade LaVine just to get rid of him. He's a very talented player. You feel dropping 40 every time you play against him. Keep him unless you get a good return for him. Yeah, and it doesn't have. You're not going to get 1-for-1 talent, but you want to get something back, right? Parker forgot Caruso. Give Coby the damn keys. That's funny. I mean, a lot of people agree with that, and rightfully so. Like, Coby at this point is in his ascension, and he's earned those opportunities. And like I said, down the fourth quarter of this game, most offense went through Coby. And I get it; those last 3 possessions bring about a lot of questions. But let's not act like the majority of situations didn't go to Coby in the fourth quarter of this game, because they did. I went over those numbers. Cooked and well done by the first half, but them leftovers were tasty, but it's hard to recover from 30 points down. Io, AC, and Coby made it move needle-wise. Acceptable loss. Listen, I mean, to me, it's hard to call something an acceptable loss when the effort defensively just wasn't there at all in the first half. There are games where, like the Lakers game, that was a game where the Bulls were in pretty good position defensively. They hit the three at a goddamn near 65% rate. But the defense was so lacking in the first half. It's hard for me to call it an acceptable loss, but my standards may just be a little too high on that. I can admit that. My standards may just be too high on that. If Zach comes back being a 50, 40, 85 player, he'll command 21 points again. Well, I mean, 2 first again. Sorry. Dyslexia, is that what that is? I don't know. My brain mixed those two first again. I mean, there's definitely something to say with that. Vern in the building says, we're not in a terrible spot as it seems. The main issue to me is as long as Debo remains a Bull, Donovan will keep relying on him as a clutch. People thought the biggest issue was Zach, but it's Debo. I would say in that case, it's more that it's Billy Donovan then, right? The Bulls are currently stationary since LaVine and Ball, but DeMar is the only piece that could shake things up. I mean, hey, reporter, what will you do at the trade deadline? AK continuity. That's funny. Big Diesel, Haize, you have to admit that Acme not trade to the Knicks was just as bad. No, it wasn't. Because again, not making a not trade at the time where you still wanted, like the Bulls weren't looking to move Zach then. So no, it's not as bad. The Acme, I'm sorry, Garpax made the clear choice to trade Jimmy Butler. And keep in mind, they got saved from themselves. They almost traded Jimmy Butler the year prior for Chris Dunn straight up. Now imagine where we would be if they had did that trade, but they got saved because the Timberwolves just didn't want to accept it because they were high on Chris Dunn. So come on, man. Like you got to think about that. No, it was not nearly as bad. You're trying to make it fit now, bro. It wasn't nearly as bad. You got to have as many offensive weapons as you can on your team. Otherwise, you're never going to beat these high scoring teams, at least during the regular season. Disagree with that. We've done it before. Other teams have done it before. You just got to play consistently. You got to play efficient offense. What made the Bulls offense so efficient in the second half of this game was their defense. And that is why it's symmetry between the two. If you're not that team that has this high level shooting team, you play solid defense because that's going to get you, it's going to attack the defense before it gets a chance to set up and take advantage of these young players that you have on your team that play so good in transition. So yo, Haize, do you think Acme will trade Zach this summer or will he be a Bull next season? I don't think you could, if because the questions around Zach were already in part because of the injury. I don't think having a season-ending injury after having two injuries that both keep you out 2+ weeks over the course of the season. I mean, there's a possibility that teams trade for Zach in the offseason, but I think the most likely scenario teams are going to want to see if Zach LaVine comes back, plays well, and stays healthy. So I think the more likely scenario is Zach LaVine's going to start a season off as a Bull. If he plays and stays healthy up until the trade deadline, I think then a trade can go down. But I don't know. I don't think that he's traded before that. But hey, we'll see. Where do things have happened? Where do things have happened? Just watching the post game, and I mean, DeMar is saddened about Zach being out. You got to think how much this team has went through in the past 2 years. I mean, yeah, we've gone through a lot the past 2 years. You cannot take away from that. We have gone through a whole hell of a lot. Dino says, I feel bad for the younger Bull fans who have to endure the perpetual mediocrity without having experienced Michael from 88 to 98. Yeah, but I mean, we've had good teams other than that, right? We had the initial Kurt Heinrich, Luol Deng, that team going and playing really well over the course of seasons and playing in playoffs, right? Winning playoff series. You had the Derrick Rose era, which was really fun. But nothing is as remembering a championship run, right? It's just different. It's different to remember, not just go back and watch, but to be alive, watching and in the midst of a championship run. It's just a different feeling. Can't help but be worried about Caruso's health. He does so much for us, and he puts his body on the line. Yeah, I mean, listen, and listen, the way that Caruso he just always impacts winning. And I remember last year when people were like, "Oh, Caruso's a luxury. Caruso isn't good." I was like, "You guys are crazy. You can't be watching the game of basketball and think that and seeing the way that Alex Caruso, just how hard he fights. Alex Caruso fights hard, man. He's such an important player on the team, man. He can fit in any lineup in any rotation. Caruso's just good, man. We stuck with Donovan, unfortunately, bruh. But what am I saying is if Debo is moved, he won't anyone to develop on to depend on as much. Send Demar on a retool around Io, Coby, Vooch, go from there. Well, here's the thing though. If a coach is relying on any one player, that means that over reliance can just transfer to another player. So that's why I say the biggest issue is still Billy Donovan, because even though Coby is playing great right now, make no mistake about it, you can still over rely on a player that's playing well like Coby White. And that is the fear with a coach like Billy Donovan, is that over reliance, the fact that that's even something that he has a propensity to do, that's always going to be something that's evident in your team. So that's why I said what I said. Sanford, Maryland, I'm 16. You're 16? You're a kid. No, I'm just playing with you. I never seen a chip. Then I've seen the back half of the D Rose because I got into basketball after his injury. I saw his highlights and thought he was there. I was wrong on that one. That's funny. Hey, listen, that's hey, I mean, I, that's crazy that you didn't get to see any of the championships, and you didn't even get to see the Derrick Rose era. That's crazy. That's wild. That's crazy. How you gonna say the Rose and Noah era was mediocre? That team was. I didn't say. Who said it was mediocre? Who said the Rose and? Are you talking to me? You talking to somebody else? I never said that was mediocre. Lonzo out 2 years. Zach wants to trade. Coby becoming an all-star. Got away. DJJ, Green, Bradley. First of all, the fact that you mentioned Bradley, nobody. I could guarantee you right now, nobody, even Tony Bradley's mama, don't miss Tony Bradley. Marco ain't nobody worried about Marco Simonovic. Javon Carter ain't nobody worried about fucking Javon Carter. What are we talking about, bro? Everything you just listed is basketball. It's basketball. Like, what are you talking about? I just want to see Bateem let my man play. I feel you. You're not going to win this argument, Diesel, because here's what I'll say on that. Garpax may have drafted them, but Garpax put Coby White in a position where everybody leading into that team becoming good wanted to see Coby White traded. He didn't develop under them. And then you say Zach, like we already know Zach, but Zach, they didn't draft Zach. They traded for Zach. And keep in mind, Zach LaVine was the throw-in in that trade. They didn't even really want Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine was there to make the contracts work. So again, you're not going to be able to win this argument, Big Diesel. I do this. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I'm a Chicago Bulls historian, bro. And not just in the sense of trying to push a narrative, in the sense of what actually was going on with the team at that time. You're not going to win this argument, bro. You got to give up on it. I mean, what debate? It's not an argument. It is a debate, friendly debate. But you're not going to win it. You let it go. It's not going to happen. You're off, bro. You're off your rocker. I love you. You're one of the biggest supporters of this channel, and I'm always going to rock with you. But you're off on this one, my friend. Considerably off. I knew this was going to go off the rails. It's not. This isn't even off the rails yet. Let's see. Sacktown. Sack, you still in here, bro? The chatter said it was mediocre. Oh, after MJ. Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair. Caruso made a believer of Haize after Haize used to doubt and mock him as the ball white boy. That says a lot. Never said that. So again, JD, sometimes the thing that I've noticed about JDH just lives to be a contrarian. It don't even matter. Like you could be like, hey, JDH, you're a man. He'd be like, how dare you say that I'm a man? Did you really just guess my gender? That's what JDH just lives to be a contrarian. He don't remember shit. He needs some ass, hope, and focus factor to save his goddamn life. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Oh man. Steely says, I want to give Haize a compliment on his fit, but he gonna hit my ass with a straight like Shay that one day. What straight did I hit Shay with? I don't even remember hitting Shay with a straight. I'll say half a season of good basketball isn't enough for me to say Acme could have done better with Rose. It's not about a half season of good basketball. It's about how they built that team, the intelligence that went into building and constructing their team with pieces that didn't work correctly that worked. And no, they would have never stayed number one team in the East, but it's still about the core three pieces on the team make each other worse on the floor. Yes, but he found that piece that made it all work. And that's the part you got to think about in that. That's where the conversation that we're having is about team construction. So again, Josiah, you gotta be in this, man. Oh, you did. No, didn't. Was it a bad idea to re-sign Vooch to another long-term deal at 32? It's not long. It's 3 years. Like 3 years isn't a long-term deal. I'm sorry. It's not a long-term deal. 4 or 5, maybe you can start pushing that, but 3 years isn't a long-term deal. Now, the thing that hurts the most is that it's all guaranteed, but it's not really a long-term deal. Oh, well, when I'm ranting about the team sucking, everybody can get it. Like, let's just be clear here. When I go on my epic rants when the team loses 4 games in a row, everybody can get it. Everybody can get it. King Kofu said, "Yo, my daughter right here, bro. She heard all of that, looked at me like, Dad, what are you listening to?" Hey, it is what it is, man. If you had any Bulls debate on anything, would you ever use my thoughts and ideas if you had a chance? Why would I? I wouldn't use anybody else's thoughts and ideas unless they just happen to be mine. So I'm still here, LOL. You run a nice show. Props to you, man. Bulls fans like and sub to this man. He's a talent. I feel bad for talking smack earlier. You guys have a nice fan. Look, listen, don't get me wrong. That's why we let you live. Like, I understand trolling and everything like that. But one thing about here is that if you come in here and talk basketball, people are gonna like. I will say this. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone on YouTube, but the chat here, we'll throw some jokes at each other. We'll have some fun. But you have a lot of really smart basketball people in this chat, and so listen. I have no problems with giving teams props, and hopefully, as somebody who came in from the outside, you saw I gave the Kings their absolute props in both the pregame and after the game after they whooped our ass. Like, I have no problem giving the other teams props. So yeah. C Dub and Bobby in the whole chat was like, she was giving you a compliment, but you apologize. Shay's a man, bro. First of all, Shay's a man. Shay, if you're talking about Shay, who, yeah, that's the only Shay that we have. SEYI, that's a dude. But apologize for it because the hat was down and Petty Roosevelt was out, not Haize. Hey, listen, it is what it is. Thoughts on DeMar staying long enough with the Bulls to retire his number? The Bulls aren't retiring numbers anymore. That's part of the reason why they created the Ring of Honor. The Bulls aren't going to retire numbers. Now, if somebody goes on and wins like 3 MVPs in a row and wins 2 titles, whatever, that probably would make them reconsider for that person. But generally, they're not going to win. They're not going to retire numbers. So DeMar, to have his number retired as the Bull, he would have to re-sign for at least 3 to 4 years and win 3 titles out of those 4 years, and then he'll probably re-sign. So not gonna lie though, I was putting time out. It's all good. Oh, listen, the mods here don't play. I'm gonna let you know right now. My mods, if you come in disrespectful, they don't play. They will get your ass, bro. And JDH may lick it. So I mean, that's the cone of embarrassment. Billy needs to grow some balls and let Sanogo, Bateem, and Jarrell free, even if it's for a few minutes tonight. That has nothing to do with growing balls. That has to do something to do with smartness. I'm sorry. Adama Sanogo, Ernalot Bateem are not really going to help you a lot right now. Now, they could at times, but that's it. Kavan says Bulls were outmatched, but it was definitely still a game that could have won without LaVine. Yo, facts. Like, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh man, they're gonna retire Tony Bradley as a Bull before DeMar gets one. Just joking. That's crazy. That's crazy. Tony Bradley needs his number retired. That's my goat. That's crazy, yo. That's wild. That's wild. That's the last Chicago Bulls point guard to go to Detroit. Hey, that's crazy. I think did I say point guard, shooting guard? I think Zach saw what happened to Ben Gordon after he went in Detroit and was like, nah, bro, I'm gonna head out and get this surgery real quick. Here's what I'll say though. All jokes aside, a Cade Cunningham, Zach LaVine backcourt wouldn't be terrible to watch. It wouldn't be terrible to watch. Headband Man is here for a good time, not a long time. You said it. You and the Kanye boys openly mocked AC for the first time. You had them on live. Now I'm done here. Yes, I'll lick whatever. Oh, not you said you're gonna now you moved on from stripper to man ass. That's crazy. JD8 said he will lick man ass. That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. Wow. I saw a report Philly will give Chicago a first round pick for DeMar. Do you think that will happen? No, because I think that was immediately debunked when a member of Philadelphia's exec team called that writer and was like, hey, man, what the fuck you doing? That's basically what it said. JDH is crazy, bro. That's wild. Davin says, what are your odds on Zach and Lonzo coming back in December with DeMar Vooch for continuity? In December? I mean, I hope Lonzo Ball can come back before December. Like, the season starts in goddamn October, my guy. What are we talking about? I mean, I do think that Lonzo can come back, but I don't think he's going to be an impact player. And Zach, I mean, it's 6 months. I think Zach will be back. That puts him. He'll be able to have a full training camp. So yeah, I mean, Zach will be back. Lonzo, it's up in air. It's up in air. JDA said he don't care as long as it's off the stage. That's crazy. That's wild. I'm just gonna put this. I'm not even gonna read this. We'll put it up there. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Big Diesel says, I've heard that Zach had an option to get or to not get or get surgery, and Zach chose surgery. Did you hear this rumor? Yeah, it's not a rumor. It's fact. Billy Donovan said it. So it's 100% fact. Zach LaVine him and his camp made the decision to get the surgery. So hey, it is what it is. Cachet, okay, that's different. Cachet is different. We're proud of coming back from 30 down. Bulls are a cooked product. I mean, looking at your profile picture and the way that you type that, it looks like your brain is the cooked product right now. That's what it looks like. I mean, listen, I'm not any expert in the matter, but it does seem like you have a faulty brain. That medulla oblongata is not working. It is what it is. It is what it is. But all right, y'all, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. Unlike JDH with his tongue, he just goes raw tongue. Never mind. Love you guys, man. I'll be back tomorrow for the daily episode. We are, what's the number? We are, damn, really? We're 27 days away from episode 1000. 27 days away, meaning that we in 27 days we would have posted 1,000 straight days of content. There's no other YouTube channel doing it like that. No, Ben 10, we've talked about this before. I actually have my whole entire original hairline, brother. Try that again. You got to come harder than that. I'm not your daddy. Don't take your daddy's hairline problems out on me. I just actually like wearing hats. There you go. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See Red, y'all. I'll be back tomorrow for episode 174 in a row. Love you guys. Go Bulls.